Welcome to the Monday edition of the Midday View on eNCA DSTV channel 403. Good afternoon, I'm Dan Moyane. We are in a crisis. Last night's level 4 speech by President Ramaphosa was depressing. COVID-19's highly infectious Delta variant is spreading very fast. Some experts are saying lockdown restrictions won't stop its deadly march. Some say what we need now, more than ever before, are more vaccines. So how quickly can government ramp up vaccination? And when we do get more vaccines, how effective will they be against the Delta variant really? How many doses do we need for effective protection against the Delta variant? We'll try to address some of these questions in this show. But first, here is this hour's top story. Gauteng is the country's COVID-19 epicenter, recording almost 10,000 cases in the past 24 hours. In fact, the province has been the epicenter for more than a week now. The country has been placed on level 4 lockdown as of today. But Gauteng has stricter restrictions, with leisure travel into and out of the province currently prohibited for the next 2 weeks until a review is done. Let's discuss this now, how the province is handling the crisis, planning to do so over the next 2 weeks. Professor Bruce Mellado from the Premier's COVID-19 Advisory Committee. Prof, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. Before we discuss what kind of things are you seeing, what is this data? What kind of data are you relying on to do your modeling that you as the advisory committee then use to assist the policymakers to decide how to manage this crisis?
Thanks, Dan, for the opportunity to talk here. So as you correctly point out, the situation is very serious. To answer your question about how we do it, so we have a modeling team within the advisory committee to the Premier that looks into every possible piece of data that we can get hold of, ranging from, say, number of positives, excess mortality, mortalities, hospitalizations, types of hospitalizations, mobility, even social media is used to ascertain the level of adherence from the population to social distancing measures and all that. And we try to create a holistic view of what's going on in the province. We don't rely just on a number or an index that could be misleading at times, but basically on a holistic approach. And then we use classical or techniques for artificial intelligence to be able to model what's going to happen.
So that collecting of data from various sources is definitely a dynamic, fluid, ongoing situation. As we sit here today, what kind of data is coming up strongly? What are you seeing?
That's a very good question. Already as early as last week, before it was announced that there is a strong possibility of a new strain becoming dominant in South Africa, it was evident that the data was deviating from the worst-case scenario, which is already bad enough. This means that there's something else happening, and there was something else happening that was impelling the numbers to become as high as they are today. Now, just to give you a measure or a metric of comparison here, we were expecting about 65,000 to 70,000 active cases at peak. Now we are over 80,000. I think it's 84 as of yesterday. This means that it's not that the modeling is wrong. It means that there's something else in the data that is driving these numbers. Now, on Saturday, it basically was communicated to our committee and also the population through a webinar that it appears that there is a new strain being very active in the data that is known to be more transmissible, which seems to explain what's going on in the data as we speak.
And that we understand from vaccinologists and virologists is Delta 4. It's a Delta plus, rather, or Delta variant that's doing that. Now, when you see this, because it's changed and then the data is showing something else is happening, it's dramatic, it's very serious, what can you predict usefully to assist as an advisory committee assigned to assist the Gauteng Premier and his fellow policymakers to make decisions that will save more lives?
That's a very good question. That's what we basically are extremely busy at the moment. So what happens was that we were assuming that there was going to be a single strain or a dominant strain, like the beta strain, that was dominant already during the second wave. But we had a contingency plan. Should a new strain emerge, what should we do in order to adapt the model and the mathematics to the data? So as soon as we heard on Saturday, the first half of the day, on Saturday, that there is evidence to that effect, then we basically activated that plan. We already got the first result for the modeling by Sunday night and Monday morning. So currently, we do have a model that is able to accommodate this new strain in that it is more contagious, and be able to extract that information from the data in order to be able to predict what's going to happen in the weeks to come. So our model and our predictions for, say, the bed occupancy that we pass on to the province and the Office of the Premier and the Department of Health will be revised within days. The current data is actually speaking volumes about what's going on the ground.
What is it telling you? Yeah. What is it telling you? What is it telling you, Prof?
Well, it's telling us already as of a few days ago that we have more active cases than was predicted in the worst case scenario, assuming only one dominant strain. So the emergence of a more contagious strain is the one that seems to be driving. Now, what we do now, as the numbers are higher than anticipated because of this new strain, we're now able to measure the impact of this strain, and with that, we will be able to measure and predict what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
You have a very tough task to do the predictions. The reason I'm saying so is what I've heard from scientists, vaccinologists. I mean, this morning, Professor Tulio de Oliveira telling eNCA that this is a very highly mutative kind of a scenario, that Delta has got multiple mutations. You do your modeling based on, as you said, the assumption earlier of one dominant variant. Now we see something else is happening. We're told Delta is here, but Delta, we are told, is very much, it's got multiple mutations. So when you look into the next 2 weeks, which is the new level 4 of lockdown restrictions, Gauteng, you and I can't travel in and out of Gauteng for now. A lot of leisure activities across Gauteng have been stopped, as with the rest of the country, but travel restrictions are sort of in place. When you look ahead, are you able to predict, and if you are, at this stage, what are you seeing, what will be happening in the next 2 weeks in Gauteng?
Right. So the critical question, as you have already indicated, because it's a very complex problem, what we do is we try to establish and measure from the data what is the level of reinfection or the rate of reinfection, meaning what is the probability of someone that had contracted the disease with the alpha or beta versions of it to be reinfected. And that is what the data is telling us at the moment. So the data for the next few days is going to be critical in establishing what is the level of that reinfection. Once we have that established that solidly, for which we need a few more days of data, we will be able to predict what's going to happen as a result of the emergence of this new virus.
When should we call you back?
Next few days. I presume we're going to have a press conference later in the week in order to delve into this.
Okay, we'll have to wait for that. Thank you very much, Professor Bruce Mellado, a member of the Gauteng Premier's Advisory Committee on COVID-19. You heard him when he started answering the very first question. The situation is indeed serious.